Hey folks, and welcome back to West Yorkshire Retro Gamer. Leeds United have just put out a very poor performance in the League Cup and have ended up losing on penalties against a very young and inexperienced Sheffield Wednesday side. And this got me thinking, in terms of where the current squad are at, and it got me wondering about comparing last season's squad to this season. So what I've done is I've put together a couple of 11s, the first one being what could have been a potential 11 for Leeds United last season, and what could be a potential Leeds United for this new season if we sign everyone that's on it. So I'm just going to go through this briefly, or as brief as I can. Joel Pirro, proven Championship striker, but unproven in the Premier League, and it can blow very hot and cold in terms of form, in terms of goal scoring, and sometimes it's been questioned as to whether he actually has what it takes to be a top level striker. Would he get in as the primary number 9 at any of Holland's big three? So Ajax, Feyenoord or PSV? I don't think so. I really don't. Maybe Championship's his level. Maybe a little unfair to say that because he's only had a couple of games in the Premier League so far. But, based on what he's done so far, he's not really shown that he can be at that level yet. Dan James, on the other hand, has got Premier League experience. You can't teach pace, and he's got that in abundance. James came on as a sub today, and was okay. Gruev started the match. Not brilliant. Ampadu, and on Gruev, I think maybe I'm starting to get the impression that maybe Gruev either just does not fit the Leeds United style, or is of Championship level. He's of Championship level. That he's an all-out defensive central midfielder, and that is it. He's a very one-dimensional player in the sense that what he can do, he's okay at, and that is being a defensive central midfielder. There's nothing else to his game, unfortunately. Ethan Ampadu, club captain. We need him. We lack leadership at the moment, and it's showing. But at the end of the day, how many matches has Ampadu missed through injury since he joined Leeds? It's quite a lot. Being a bit of a sick note. And we can't afford for our captain to be a sick note. We need him. We need the leadership that he brings. We lacked leadership tonight. Simple as. And he's out with an MCL injury. Tanaka, so good last season. Can do a bit of everything. He can probably do DCM, CM, ACM, but right now he's got an MCL injury. To be fair to Ao Tanaka, I think this might be his first injury since he's become a Leeds player, or his first major one anyway. So he didn't play tonight, so I Can't be too harsh on Outanaka. Willie Gnonto, one of our better players tonight. When he came on, looked lively, looked to try and change the game. You know, he did what a substitute's supposed to do, and that is to try and change something that the original starting 11 weren't able to do. And he did that. Him and Jaden Bogle were involved in the goal that we got. So I can't criticise Willie Gnonto that much on tonight's showing. What more is he expected to do? And again, you know, for a relatively young player, he's got Premier League experience, and he's fully capped for Italy, for Christ's sake. So for his relatively young age, you know, I think he's still only 21 years old. I don't even think he's 22 yet, and he's got a fair chunk of experience behind him. Bogle, when he came on, again, ended up being one of our best players, and he wasn't even on the pitch for a whole half. You know, it speaks volumes. He was very effective last season at fullback, got some goals and assists, and looks quite good on the ball. You know, we could maybe possibly criticise what his defensive capabilities are like, but as an attacking fullback, you know, he's capable, without a doubt. Strauch and Roden, we can't criticise those tonight because they didn't play. Only time will tell as to whether they're good enough to be a bottom half Premier League centre-back pairing, or if they are a very good top half Championship pairing. Against Everton, excellent. Against Arsenal, terrible. But again, there's a massive gulf between Arsenal and Everton. Everton will definitely finish bottom half this season. Arsenal will definitely finish top 4 this season. So, you know, can't be too harsh on the pair of them. Certainly not regarding tonight. Regarding Sam Byram, before the match started, I was delighted for him. Got given the captain's armband. He's one of our own. Came through our academy, and since he's come back, he's proven his fitness to be good enough to be an effective squad player. Was possibly one of, in terms of the starting 11, was possibly one of the slightly better players that we had on the pitch tonight. I think him and Harrison, maybe. That's not saying a right lot. You know, we were awful tonight when you consider the opposition. And then Darlow. What's he doing? What kind of an attempt of a save was it, where the ball squirms under his feet or between his feet and goes in? It's not the first mistake that Darlow's made in a Leeds shirt in a cup match. Darlow, when he came into the lineup for the league matches towards the end of last season, pretty decent, but he's not been reliable in the cups at all, and he's got a dreadful record in the, you know, on the couple of penalty shootouts that he's faced. So, you know, I think Darlow's proved why he will never be Leeds' first choice goalkeeper. You know. So it's hugely disappointing, and tonight maybe outlined some of the issues that the club currently has with the lineup. What I'll do now is I'll show you a potential 11 that might end up being a Leeds United 11 in, you know, by the time the transfer window shuts. Again, it doesn't include the 2 freebies of Calvert-Lewin and Mecha. Maybe just bear with me 2 seconds. See if I can get this on screen. We've got it. I'll just get it resized. Oops. So this 11 are the new signings that we've made, plus a couple that I would like to see us try and get. And it would ultimately give us a potentially brand new starting 11, or a brand new 11 that could potentially play if the opportunity came about. And some of these did feature tonight, which is why I've put this together. I'll just be another moment here, do please bear with me. So as I say, some of these we have signed already, and some of these we have not yet. Okay, so that'll do. Right, so Lucas Perry didn't play tonight, Darlow did. And against Everton, not bad. His kicking was a bit iffy, but the rest of his game was fine, and he got a clean sheet. Against Arsenal, I mean, conceded 5 goals. Not Perry's fault as such. You know, we defended like ponies, quite frankly. Again, against a good quality opposition, but there was no defensive solidity there whatsoever. Solidity, whatever. So only time will tell as to whether Perry's going to be as good as the hype is. And I think there probably is a good goalkeeper in there. We just need to see more of it, which we will as time goes on. James Justin, he's only just signed, so he didn't feature tonight. I think he provides adequate competition for Bogle, and it was needed. You know, the full-back cover work, was required, and I think with the 4 full-backs we've got in Bogle, Byram, Justin, and Goodmanson, I think we've got a decent enough quartet of full-backs there. Bornau and Biol. Tonight was the first time that these two had played together, and for the most part they did okay, but again you have to look at the opposition they were against. They're going to come up against far better opposition than Sheffield Wednesday this season. So on one hand you have to kind of say, right, okay, this is the first time these two have played together as a partnership, so only time will tell as to whether these two will be any good. And again, you've got to look at it. For the most part, they kept Sheffield Wednesday out, apart from the one attempt that Sheffield Wednesday ended up getting through, of which they scored. So difficult to judge the 2 of them tonight. Let's judge them when they've had a chance to come up against Premier League opposition. Gabriel Gudmundsson, I think, has done okay so far. Looked very good in the Everton game. Against Arsenal, a bit of a different story, but again, everyone was dire against Arsenal, so it's very difficult to judge anybody that featured in that particular match. I think Gudmundsson showed enough early signs to suggest that he's going to be good, and a very adequate replacement for Junior Firpo. I don't have that many concerns over Gudmundsson right now. He's not the problem. Rumours came around again that we might be interested in Nico Gonzalez from Juventus, and again I think this would be a very decent quality right winger. If we can get him. Again, I think we're probably looking somewhere between maybe 18 and 22 million pounds, up to 25 million euro, I would guess. And the club have spent around 100 million pounds on the 10 signings overall that we've made. But as everyone knows, attacking reinforcements come at more expensive prices, and the club has got to spend. They have to. They've got to get rid of the players that aren't going to feature, and there's still a few of those remaining. I'll get onto that after I go through this lineup. But I'm really hoping that the club is looking at someone of the quality of Gonzalez. He's a fully fledged Argentina international playing for one of the best teams in Italy. That to me is as much what they called a stretch signing as Igor Paixão. When you look at the profile, this guy's done a hell of a lot in his career so far. So pull the bloody boat out and sign him, because we need more. Tonight demonstrated how toothless we are up front. So let's get someone in of the quality that Gonzalez could possibly bring. For God's sake, get him in. Stark, again, another outstanding performance that he had against Everton. He was, like Gudmundsson, was one of our best players that night. Against Arsenal, again, just like everyone against Arsenal was terrible. So I'm not even going to go into that really. Came on as a substitute tonight and helped a bit. Looked okay, for the relatively short time he was on. Phillips, if we were to sign Phillips on loan, I think it's a low risk signing. My only concern with Phillips is that he's not overly fit right now. I don't know whether he's recovered from either the injury or the operation that he's had in the summer or what. But if you could get him on a loan signing, I think it's a low risk. We don't have Ampadu right now. We don't have Tanaka right now. If there's any element of fitness about Phillips right now, like hell, get him in. Get him in on a loan. Get him on loan for the season. What harm does it do Leeds if we get Calvin Phillips in on loan? He's experienced. He's played for England, for Christ's sake. He was a monster of a midfielder under Bielsa. He plays well under managers who have that man management skill, that look after the players. By and large, Farke is quite good with that. He seems to have a good relationship with his players. So for me, if you can pass a medical, get him in. And if it's a season-long loan, he's got time to recover and then can push the likes of Ampadu and Tanaka and Gruev and Longstaff. And Stag, just get him in. Christ's sake. Longstaff came on tonight. In fact, did he come on as a sub or did he start? I think he started actually. Yeah, he started the match. For a long period, I thought Longstaff was anonymous. Hardly got a touch of the ball. Look, Leeds were always trying to play everything out wide. So Longstaff didn't have a right lot of involvement. He complained to the referee that he got fouled a couple of times. And I think that Longstaff for 12 million quid is a decent signing. He's got 170 Premier League games under his belt before now. Before this season started, and he's played for a team that's, very recently, been a top quarter Premier League team. But yeah, I thought he was fairly anonymous tonight. for whatever reason, it was almost like they were trying to bypass the midfield, and you know, Gruev, who started, was kind of sitting back, being that midfielder that came in between the two centre backs, and then you had Longstaff just ahead of him, and the ball just bypassed Sean Longstaff for most of the game. He was so anonymous, quite scary. You know, that doesn't fit into Leeds' tactics. If you can even call it tactics, I'm really not sure. Noah Okafor got his first start tonight. He'd had one substitute appearance, I think, up to now. Got his first start. Him and Harrison on the left hand side, I didn't think they were terrible. Okafor did try getting some crosses into the box along with Harrison. It was Aronson that started the match on the right hand side. I'm not even going to go into his performance tonight. That was a very poor performance from Brendan Aronson. Really not good. I think there'll be more to come from Okafor, but it tonight wasn't a good game for him, and he got hooked. So it's like, what are you going to do? And then Dovbyk, a striker that Leeds have been linked with loosely, has had a very good scoring record for his career so far. The guy knows where the goal is. He knows how to score. Just get him in. He's going to cost a lot of money. He's going to be coming from he'll be coming from Roma. They'll have paid a fair whack for him originally, I should say. But then you're looking at buying a prolific number 9. You've got Dovbyk, you've got Demirovic. Christ, you've got there's other players that had good goal scoring seasons last season, but we need a striker that's prolific. He signs Metcher and Calvert-Lewin, who aren't prolific. Look at the number of goals and assists they've got in their career compared to their number of appearances made. They're not prolific. You need someone that is just an absolute proven goal scorer. Someone that you can rely on to get a real hefty chunk of goals every season. That's what Pirro does in the Championship. You will get goals from Pirro in the Championship. Now we need an upgrade. We need an upgrade on Pirro. And I'm not sure that Metcher or Calvert-Lewin are that much of an upgrade. Probably a little bit. But we need an absolute goal-scoring machine. And I think that someone like Dovbyk could possibly do the job. Certainly based on his DNA. In his career so far. He's a goal scorer. And he's not just had one good season. He's scored goals for a while now. He's a full Ukraine international. He's had the legendary Shevchenko to look up to. When he was a kid, Shevchenko would have been the striker that he would have looked up to. You know what I mean? He's the kind of striker that, just based on his DNA alone, this fella knows where the goal is and he knows how to score goals. You give him the service, the guy's going to score, isn't he? And there's other strikers out there as well. As I say, in terms of the ones that have been officially linked with Leeds, you've got Dovbyk and you've got Demirovic. There's others out there though. There's others that can be signed. I don't know why we didn't make more of an effort to get Burkhardt before he left Mainz to go to Frankfurt. I just think that Leeds should have been sharper in terms of getting that sorted. You know, the whole mindset was to sort out the goalkeeper and the defence because we're going to be facing a lot of shots because it's an improved division. But you still need goals. You still need goals. I can't stress that enough. You need to sort out the whole team, not just the back line. You know, we've made 10 signings, 8 of them, of course, a transfer fee. We've, you know, and the 2 strikers that we've signed are both free transfers. These last few days of the transfer window are going to be so crucial. I am sorry for ranting, but we are desperately crying out for a quality, world-class number 9. The Premier League alone can help Leeds to get that. Right? World-class strikers come to the Premier League. That's what they do. They don't come to the Championship. They come to the Premier League. And that is where Leeds are currently. But we ain't going to be staying in it more than one bloody season if we don't get a freaking goal machine of a number 9. I'm telling you now, we need to get Gonzalez, who I think would cost around, let's just say £20 million, right? And then Dogbeck, probably 30. Right? We've spent 100 million, spend another 50, which probably keeps us within PSR, get a loan for Phillips, which won't cost much of anything in terms of a transfer fee. Might cost a couple of million for a loan fee, maybe. But Phillips is so far down the Man City pecking order right now. I genuinely don't think Man City would want that much for him, really. But Phillips wouldn't be signed to do an attacking role. You know, this is more, you know, your Gonzalez and your Dogbeck. You know, to be getting your GNA along with Okafor. That's why he's been signed. You know, so tonight has frustrated the crap out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Right, that performance, that lineup we put out tonight should have been good enough to beat Sheffield Wednesday, to beat any lineup of Sheffield Wednesday. Even the Sheffield Wednesday of last season, when they had a more experienced squad, the lineup tonight should have beaten that, and it didn't do. It drew with them, and then lost on penalties. And we're not even going to talk about penalties because Leeds' record in penalty shootouts, forget it. Right, so, you know, I keep saying to myself, you know, this 11 here on screen right now, would this 11 be good enough and competitive enough to get Leeds points this season? I think probably it would. I'm not saying it's going to beat teams like Arsenal, is it, Eck? Not a chance. But, you know, would it be competitive against the other bottom half teams? Yeah, I think it probably would be. Or at least among the bottom 5 or 6. And that's all, you know, that's all where we need to get points from. You know, get 10 wins, 10 draws, 40 points, probably come 17th. At end of season, we stay up, happy days. Then we can build on getting even better quality the following season. But we have to establish ourselves as a Premier League club again, and we need the players to do it. And out of this particular 11 here, we've signed Perry, Justin, Bornau, Biol, Goodmanson, Stack, Longstaff and Okafor. That's 8 of this current lineup you can see on screen right now. We've signed those 8 plus the 2 freebie strikers for £100 million. Roughly speaking, right? And, you know, what is completely clear tonight is that the players who featured tonight aren't ready yet. They could end up being good enough, but based on their showing tonight, the ones who played, they are not ready. Now, does this come down to the ability of the player? Does it come down to the quality of the coaching from Daniel Farke and his coaching team? Is it a combination of the two? Maybe so. But tonight, Aronson, he played on the right side, on the right wing. Harrison played at left back, for Christ's sake. Like, you're playing Harrison out of position. And Harrison, as I say, was one of our slightly better players tonight. But Aronson wasn't very good. I'm very rarely lost for words, but tonight has really made me wonder what the hell's going on at Leeds United right now, and I am struggling to see positives based on tonight. I think we're going to get beaten by Newcastle. Now, after Newcastle, I think there's a couple of games that we might be a bit more competitive in. But I think we're going to suffer I think we'll probably suffer a 3-0. If it's 5-0 against Arsenal, I reckon it's 3-0 against Newcastle. I really do. Unless we find a much stronger mentality, a much more intelligent lineup in terms of the intelligence they show on the pitch, the defensive organisation, to be able to keep out players that Newcastle have got, which are of a much better quality than what we have. We have got to find a way somehow. And again, a bit like the Arsenal fixture, I'm not going to lose sleep over losing to Newcastle, who are a team that I would expect to be in the top 5 or 6 this season. That's not where Leeds are at right now. But we can't get demolished again like we did against Arsenal. But I could see a heavy defeat. I don't see us getting a 5-0 walloping. But I could see it being as bad as 3. 3-0 against Arsenal would have been maybe about right, because 2 of those 5 goals are very easily preventable, and we didn't prevent them. With Newcastle, Newcastle on Arsenal's level, no. They're a step below for me. Are they better than about 3/4 of the Premier League? Yeah, I would say so. Certainly when they've got a fully fit squad, anyway. But as I say, I still think we're going to get trounced. And it's going to get to the point where people are going to start questioning Farke. They already are. People are already, some of the fans are already questioning Farke. I mean, we can question Farke all we want, but at the end of the day, it's a collective thing, isn't it? The players on the pitch are the ones that are doing the bloody job. It's their job to win football matches. It's Farke's job to train these players to be good enough to win these matches. So they go hand in hand. You need both to be of an equal level of quality. And Farke has not proven himself as a Premier League manager as of yet. Has he had a fair crack? Not yet. By the end of the season, yeah, he'll have had a full crack at it, if he lasts the season. But we need to start showing mega improvements. We need to get these signings in. No pissing around now. The owner Paragmarath said that most of the action will happen towards the end of the window. Well, we are towards the end of the bloody window. Get in a Dovbyk, get in a Demirovic for your striker. getting someone like Gonzalez for the right wing. There's been talk of Bakwa as well. I don't think Bakwa fits the mould for the 49ers recruitment policy. He's a lot younger. So I don't think we'll get Bakwa. I think he's of the younger age bracket, and we need players that are going to kick ass now, not in a couple of seasons. And if we don't get Phillips, get someone like Buendia or so, just someone that like Buendia knows Farker, Farker knows Buendia, and again a bit like Phillips. If you can get Buendia fit, that could be a decent signing. Again, get him on loan. But we are running out of time now. And the thing is that once we've completed all of the signings that the club wants to make, and bearing in mind we've got to get shut of some players, right? Sam Greenwood has just gone to Pogon in Poland on a permanent deal. That's fine. Gelhart's gone out on loan, hasn't he? Verber's gone out on loan, I think. Schmidt is due to go, if he hasn't already. Bamford was linked with Wrexham at one point. Meslier needs to go now because he's obviously not in the reckoning anymore. What is it? Joseph's gone out on loan. Gilavogi ended up leaving at the end of his contract. Firpo left at the end of his contract. It's nearly a starting 11, if you like, that we're getting rid of to be able to accommodate all of these new players. Because Premier League has got all these rules of who you can have and how much homegrown talent there needs to be in the squad. We've got all these players that are leaving or will potentially be leaving by the end of this transfer window. And then it's down to Farker and his coaching team. These new boys that have come in, they're supposed to be better than what we've got. They're supposed to be better than the players that we've already had. How much better is this 11 compared to the one I showed you from last season? Individually, yeah, probably better in nearly every position. But the one thing that the team from last season had that this 11 doesn't is that they've all played together. They've got that unity. They've got that know-how of what they can all do. So this ain't a quick fix. Signing potentially a new starting 11 is great, right? New shiny toys, if you like. It's great in the sense that you're looking to bring in better quality players than what you currently have. Right, that's great, but with all of these new players, they need time to gel as a team. They ain't gonna be beating half of the Premier League straight away. Look at the lineup that Farker put out. He didn't even play all of the new guys for the first two games. Now, is that because Farker don't trust them? No, I don't think it's that bad. But it's because Farker doesn't think that they're ready yet. And based on tonight, it's clear that some of them aren't. So, what do you do in this instance? There's a possibility that the likes of Gruev, maybe Aronson, possibly Harrison, I don't know. Right? But there's a possibility that some of these are going to end up leaving by the end of the transfer window. Partially because we might need to free up wages or get a little bit of money in to balance the PSR and to have money available then to get a couple of these new boys in. But it's going to take time for these players to gel as a team, to gel as a unit. And tonight, that's what tonight told me the most. That these new players, they need time to gel as a team. And the problem is we ain't got time. We need to, we need to be winning. It's great to get the win against Everton. It's brilliant, right? The loss against Arsenal is shite. I expected us to lose to Arsenal, but I didn't expect 5-0. That was disastrous. I worry about how we're going to do against Newcastle. But as I say, after that, it looks like we have a couple of matches that might be a little bit similar to an Everton level that we might have a chance of getting something from. If we can get something against Newcastle, fantastic. I do not see it. I'm predicting a 3-0 win to them. If we lose into Arsenal 5-0, I see a 3-0 against Newcastle. I really do, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong. I massively hope I'm wrong. If we can somehow grind a point out against Newcastle, that will be a great result. It really would. But I don't see it. So, apologies for a bit of a rant here, folks. But that Sheffield Wednesday match tonight has really made me think about where the club are at currently, whether the players we've just signed are good enough. Like Calvert-Lewin and Mecha. Like Calvert-Lewin could have had a hat-trick tonight if he'd have been more clinical. Mecha, again, in flashes he looks alright. He really does. And he kept a cool head and scored the penalty that got us the win against Everton. But we got them both on free transfers. And I know that it don't mean that if you buy a player for £100 million that they're definitely going to be better than everyone else, right? I'm not that stupid. I'm not that naive. But there's reasons why these two players were available on free transfers. So, I really hope the club can sort all this out. Somehow get these new players to play together as a team, as a unit, and get it so that they're going to be good enough. Because right now, I don't see these players as being good enough at the moment. Certainly not based on what I've seen so far. Bar one or two, as I say, I think Goodmanson. I genuinely think Goodmanson will be a very good left back for us. I do like what I've seen from him so far. And take out the Arsenal match, I think Stack's got quite a bit to offer as well. I don't think Beale and Bornau did that much wrong tonight, to be honest, but it's against a weak opposition. We don't know anything about how Justin will adapt because he's only just joined, and Okafor's had 1.5 games. I mean, we're talking a very small sample size for all of the new guys here. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but there's some worrying signs here, and I just hope that it all comes good in the end, and it might. As I say, I don't think these are bad players, but they need to show what they can do. They need to prove that they are good enough to keep a club like Leeds United up in the Premier League, and that's what we're going to find out over the course of the rest of the season. Let's hope that things start going in the right direction. I feel we need to stay out of the relegation zone as long as possible, just to keep the confidence up. West Ham are crap so far. Wolves aren't much better. And ironically, the 3 promoted teams from last season, they're all mid-table right now, including Leeds. They've all had 1 win and 1 loss. So, and again, it's hugely early on. Lots of games to come, but you don't want a negative trend to start setting in. If you get that negativity seeping through the squad, they will drop like a stone into that drop zone, into that bottom 3, and I don't want to see Leeds in that bottom 3 at any point this season. I think after the Newcastle game, I could see us being in the drop zone, but then a couple of games after that, maybe we'll be out of it again. We'll see. Again, apologies for ranting, folks. I think me and several other Leeds United content creators have been having a bit of a rant about tonight and having a long, hard look at the squad. Ramazani, that's another player that's on his way as well. It's just come to mind now. But anyway, yeah, there we go. A big thank you for watching. If you've got this far through the video, well done. And again, apologies for being quite ranty. I mean, to me, this is only a cup game. The one thing we've got out of this match is that some of the new players have had some minutes under the legs, and that's important. But it won't do anything positive for the morale of the team, and that's also important. So I just hope that getting knocked out of this in this round doesn't have a massive negative effect on the team, and that from a fitness point of view, some of these players have got some important minutes in the legs, and that it helps them going forward. But yeah, big thank you for watching. Do please give the video a like. Do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.